It's a chilly evening here at U.S. Cellular Field, but the White Sox are going for a series victory. It's game 2 of a 3-game series against the Boston Red Sox on a Wednesday night on the south side of Chicago. Good evening, everybody. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone, along with you. The White Sox are off to their best start since 2006. They are 19-8, and recently, Jose Abreu has been a big part of that.
Everybody talking about when is Jose Abreu going to pick it up? Well, folks, he is certainly picking it up. In the last 4, he's been red hot. This is a game-winning RBI as Joey Rickard has problems with the throw. Adam Eaton, who had bunted his way on, scores what turns out to be the winning run. And last night, a big 2-run double. Some much-needed insurance runs coming late. That has been the signature of this White Sox team, and Jose Abreu is doing everything right over the last 4 games. He's hitting .500. He's driven in 7. He scored a run. He's only struck out 1 time, that against a knuckleball, and there's a lot of people that can't hit that. But Jose is certainly doing what he's done the last couple of years, which is on his way to driving in 100+.
And the White Sox start certainly has been funded in part by the defense. Adam Eaton in right field has become one of the best defenders, if not the best, in Major League Baseball so far.
It's pretty hard to imagine anybody doing it better than he's doing it, because he's not only running everything down, but his throws have been magnificent. Andrelton Simmons thinking he can score. Think again. The throw's right on the money. Simmons is cut down. Then in Toronto, an even better play. A slicer down the right field line. Eaton comes on. It doesn't look like he's got a shot at Encarnacion. Well, guess what, Edwin? You're out. He tags himself. A pinpoint throw. Adam Eaton has done it. He's bunted a couple of times. They've been perfect. He's the catalyst. He's the guy that sets the table, and he's doing it exceptionally well.
Those bunts have started rallies as well for the White Sox, who are looking to become the first American League team to 20 wins in 2016. First pitch from Carlos Rodon coming next. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers. It's Miller time. Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Ford. America's best-selling brand 6 years running. Inviting you to check out our fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers. Test drive their all-star lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com. Game 2 of a 6-game homestand. The Red Sox are first into town. Minnesota will be here over the weekend. The White Sox looking for the series victory. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone. The offense has been very important for the White Sox, and Melky Cabrera has turned into one of the toughest guys to strike out in Major League Baseball.
Melky Cabrera has done a great job opening this season. Now, he hasn't hit Clay Buchholz very well, and that's who's going to the mound tonight. However, against the Boston Red Sox, it's been another story, and we'll take a look at some really high batting averages against opponents. Miguel Cabrera at .399 against the Indians. And it's Josh Reddick against Texas at .392. And then there's the ever-present Melky at .388 against Boston, followed by Freddie Freeman and Matt Kemp. And so we knew it was essential that Melky get off to a great start. He's done exactly that, and he's tormented the Red Sox. Maybe a little more of the same here tonight.
Is that a new nickname, the ever-present Melky?
He is the ever-present Melky.
We'll go with it.
Okay.
White Sox, Red Sox coming up from U.S. Cellular Field. First pitch just around the corner. Ball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. It's spring, it's summer, it's winter, it's fall. It's spring, it's winter again. Just wait a couple minutes. How about the Red Sox lineup for you?
It's a good idea.
Forecast coming up shortly. Mookie Betts leads it off, followed by Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. Late lineup change has shifted everybody. Hanley Ramirez is out, so Travis Shaw moves over to first base after Pedroia and Young. Josh Rutledge, his first start of the series. Christian Vasquez, the catcher, and Jackie Bradley Jr. in the 9th spot for Boston.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they're going to line up behind Carlos Rodon. It's Melky Cabrera, Austin Jackson, and Adam Eaton in the outfield with Todd Frazier, Jimmy Rollins, Brett Lawrie, and Jose Abreu. The red-hot Jose Abreu at first base. Scanner Navarro once again gets a nod behind the plate, and Carlos Rodon on the hill. He's 1-3 this year. He's thrown a little better than that. His ERA .433. This is 6th start. It's a very chilly day at the ballpark, and the wind pretty much of a factor. We'll let you know in which direction it is blowing as it's swirling at the moment. And the umpires for tonight, Tim Timmons behind the plate, Paul Emmel is at first, Jordan Baker at second, and the crew chief, Mike Everett, is at third. So Boston comes in after last night's loss. They get knocked out of first place as Baltimore has taken over that position. And John Farrell, who we talked to extensively before the game, and Jason and I will have some information from their skipper, who talked very candidly about his ball club.
Got a chance to chat with Robin Ventura as well before the game. Robin in a good spot right now, happy with his ball club. Feels like everything's going the right direction, as he should. And 19-8, the best start in 10 years on the south side.
Pretty amazing beginning, because every aspect of the game is flowing along as well as you could have hoped coming out of the chute this year. And so now the second game of a 3-game series. Let's see if Carlos Rodon has pretty good stuff against a very fine offensive team.
Carlos, born in Miami, college baseball in Raleigh, North Carolina, where it's 67 degrees right now. In Chicago, it is 45 at first pitch time tonight. 7:10 at U.S. Cellular Field, and it's strike one on Mookie Betts. Ball and a strike on Betts, the 23-year-old who was 0 for 4 last night and managed 1 of the 4 out of the infield. Now, the Red Sox are the second best hitting team in the majors at 280. 135 runs scored, that's 6th in Major League Baseball. That's a strike, 2-2 from Rodon.
We're going to see that fastball with a little more on it as the innings move along. That last one at 90 miles an hour.
2-2. Downstairs, 3 balls and 2 strikes from Carlos, who went 7 innings last time out in the loss to Baltimore in the series at Camden Yards. In the air from Betts, Austin Jackson makes the call. Adam Eaton backpedals, and Jackson squeezes out number 1.
There's some evidence there that the fastball of Rodon is moving late because it was a fastball situation. Betts knows he doesn't want to walk him to lead off the ball game. He got his fastball, he got it outer third, and yet he didn't get a whole lot of it. In fact, he got under it and really not able to square it up. So when you know it's coming and you get what you're looking for and you can't square it up, that shows you some late life.
It's the first out of the ball game, and Rodon pumps in strike number 1 to Xander Bogaerts, who originally was scheduled to be in the 3 spot. Then with Hanley Ramirez having what the Red Sox are terming flu-like symptoms. Hanley is out. Travis Shaw moves to first base, and Josh Rutledge into third.
I always wondered on the flu-like symptoms if it's really the flu.
Well, it sounds skeptical when you only have the symptoms.
And if it's really not the flu, then he'll probably be back a little sooner than we would like, because he hit the ball well last night.
He had the only RBI, the only run scored, a solo homer in the 5th inning. 2-2 on Bogaerts, the young man from Aruba. Hard hit ball to right field for Bogaerts. Eaton up with it rather quickly, and a 1-out single is all Xander Bogaerts will have.
There's an example of how quickly advanced scouting shuts down a running game. Now, normally, if you slice it down the line and you've got the speed of Bogaerts, you're thinking about 2 bases. But when Eaton caught it cleanly, Bogaerts put on the brakes immediately, because I doubt if a whole lot of people these days are going to be running on Adam Eaton the way he's been throwing the baseball.
To update the leaderboard as Ortiz stands in, Adam Eaton leads Major League Baseball with 13 defensive runs saved, meaning he's rescued 13 runs for Sox pitchers. That's 6 more than any other player in the majors. Brandon Crawford, the Giants shortstop, has 7. And the leader in Major League Baseball last season, and it's a cumulative number, so you can keep gaining throughout the year, was Kevin Kiermaier of Tampa with 42. So Eaton's a quarter of the way plus to that.
And last year, Kiermaier won a Gold Glove, so Adam is on his way to doing that.
First base, Abreu starts a double play and ends a double play. Easy does it for the Sox infield against Big Papi on his farewell tour. Buchholz comes out next. offenses in Major League Baseball. The White Sox have Adam Eaton, Jimmy Rollins, Jose Abreu, top three in the card. Abreu on a 7-game hit streak. Then Frazier, Cabrera, and Laurie. Jerry Sands, Deontay Navarro, Austin Jackson, 1 through 9 for Robin tonight, Steve.
Let's go to the defense, and now John Farrell is going to line them up behind Clay Buchholz. It's Chris Young, Jackie Bradley, and Mookie Betts in the outfield with Rutledge, Bogarts, Pedroia, and Shaw in the infield. Christian Vasquez, a highly touted young catcher behind the plate, and Clay Buchholz on the hill. He's 0-3. His ERA is way up there at 6.5. And as you can see, it has not been a particularly good year for him, giving up more hits than innings pitched. We're going to see a guy with a big curveball, and lately he's been cutting it. And a lot of the people involved with the Red Sox are talking about the fact that he's trying to make everything move and losing that big fastball he once had.
Adam Eaton first, and he takes ball one. In 2008, Clay Buchholz was one of the top 2 prospects in the Red Sox organization. Buchholz was number 1. Jacoby Ellsbury was number 2. Left field, driving Young back to the edge of the warning track for out number 1. Tell you about our picks to click tonight. The crew, Jim Angio, John Walgren, everybody in the truck. Joe Groove, I think, was consulted as well. Austin Jackson. Steve, you got Melky Cabrera. I'm going to take Todd Frazier because he thought that we got smoked with a foul ball yesterday, but it actually hit our pal Dave O'Brien in the booth next door. Todd was tweeting at like 12:30 in the morning about how we needed gloves up here.
So much to his dismay, it landed in the Boston booth.
Yeah, he was hoping to take us out.
Well, we will have to take the young man to task.
I don't know you want to take anybody from Tom's River to task.
He's a large man. Let's rethink that.
How did I get lumped in on that, by the way? Let's.
Well, it's we.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's a we.
It is when you need to diffuse blame, I feel. Strike one to Jimmy Rollins. And in the air, foul. 0-2 for Jimmy, who was 0 for 3 yesterday, but did score a couple of runs.
This is probably a big outing in the world of Clay Buchholz because he's got to show John Farrell and Dave Dombrowski, who runs the entire show for the Red Sox, who's along on this trip. He's going to show them that he can pitch to contact and get the ball over the plate consistently.
Rollins smokes this ball right center and down. Jimmy Rollins is on as Mookie Betts gets there quickly.
This looked like a 2-base hit when it left the bat. It's a high fastball driving it in the gap, but Mookie Betts, who was a longtime infielder, converted to an outfielder, gets to it quickly. In fact, with Bradley and Betts in center and right field, they've got a whole lot of speed. Chris Young these days, not quite as fast as he once was, but still a competent left fielder.
With that, one on for Jose Abreu, who's got 2 hits in 6 of his last 7 games. The numbers are rising, nearly slugging 400 now, Abreu. And he takes ball 1.
First curveball that Buchholz has thrown. Abreu hasn't had any luck with him, but this is a different Abreu lately. Last 4 he's been red hot. Over the last week or so he's getting good at bats just about each and every time.
To your eyes, what's changed for Jose Abreu that last week?
Some more selectivity, and I think that with the man behind him driving in 18 runs, and that's Todd Frazier, I think that pitchers are not quite as ready to pitch around Abreu as they were. He expanded his own zone and was swinging at pitches well out of the zone. Not only sweeping breaking balls away, but he was swinging at fastballs inside 3 or 4 inches, pretty much jamming himself. But last night he took an inside pitch, and that's what he rifled the left field. So things getting a whole lot better for the big man.
2-run double, RBI triple last night, providing 3 of the 4 runs for the White Sox. And Abreu clubs this ball to left. Young is back. He has no play. It is out of here. A 2-run home run for Jose Abreu in the first.
We talked about the ability to get around on the inside pitch, and that's exactly where Buchholz went. It's home run number 4, RBIs 18 and 19. Our Sox on the board first, and Jose Abreu pulled in his hands a bit and got the good part of the bat on the ball. Take a look at the location. It is inside. It's normally a good pitch to anybody but a red-hot power hitter who happens to ride it out of the yard.
So, for the second night in a row, the White Sox, who've made a living scoring in late inning situations this year, take a first inning lead.
Buchholz, that's the 5th home run he's given up in 28 innings. That is a whopping total.
Frazier, who's quite happy to not see a knuckleballer today. Todd had a couple fluttering knuckleballs that caused him some issues yesterday.
Wright's knuckleball was pretty good yesterday. Gave up only 3 hits in 6 innings and only a couple of runs.
Strike 2 on Todd Frazier.
John Farrell told us that that was probably the worst his knuckleball was all year, and it was plenty good enough. And there is the man of the moment, Jose Abreu.
He's been the man of 3 years.
Yeah, he's been something, and on a pace to do exactly what he has done before. He's going to drive in 100. He's going to hit 30. And for a whole lot of people who were concerned at the slow start, he is the last person you should be concerned about.
Outside corner, cold, strike 3 on a borderline pitch.
The borderline would be a touch generous, as that pitch was well off the corner. Vasquez, who is known as one of the real good framers of the baseball, eases it back into the zone. You can always tell when a catcher moves it at least a couple of inches that it might not be there.
So you're saying that was well inland from the border?
Yeah, probably not quite on the border.
The exurbs.
It was out there, close to it.
2 out for Melky Cabrera, who we told you about in the open. 12 walks, 8 strikeouts this year for Melky, who has seen Clay Buchholz more than anybody else in this White Sox lineup.
Hasn't seen him very well, however. Maybe tonight will be different.
Up and out, 2-0 on Cabrera. By the way, for Abreu, that's his 17th career first inning home run, by far the highest total in any inning for him in his White Sox career. Melky laces this one right center, but Jackie Bradley has room. He gave it a run. Jose did too. 2-run homer in the first inning, and the White Sox continue to roll. Cellular Field, 2-0 White Sox over the Red Sox. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone, our entire crew, and what a wonderful crew it is. I was told before I got here, by the way, to this here crew, that they are great people and they do great work. And you know what? Everybody that said that is dead on.
Were you told before you got here today?
No. Before I got here to sit in this chair.
It's as good a crew as there is in baseball and has been for a long time. Their personalities, fair, but talent, unmatched.
You'd give them fair on the personalities?
Yeah, but good on the talent.
Other end of the bell curve there. Strike one to Dustin Pedroia, who was originally in the 2 spot, then shuttled down to 4 with the flu-like symptoms for Hanley Ramirez. Pedroia out of Arizona State. Rodon, the highest ever drafted player out of North Carolina State, number 3 overall, playing for Elliott Avent and the Wolfpack. 3-1 on Pedroia.
Pedroia's going to be squeezing the sawdust out of the bat to get that fastball. He would prefer it up high. And you can see Young in the on-deck circle.
Shortstop and Rollins to the ground for out number 1.
There's a shining example of why you don't want to get behind these Boston hitters, because he got his 3-1 fastball and he tattooed it. Fortunately, it wasn't up high enough for him because the little guy's got some pop. Jimmy Rollins right there to make the play.
"37-year-old Jimmy Rollins, one of the 25 oldest players in Major League Baseball this year, can still get after it." Strike one to Chris Young, outfielder who has some good power in that bat. Pretty impressive what Carlos Rodon's done since that opening start at home he had to begin that previous homestand. Gave up 5 runs in the first inning, didn't make it out of the first inning, and since then has thrown the ball pretty well.
Well, Don Cooper went up and talked to him about that particular start and said, look, it was in the past. You got to look forward because that's all you have. And whether you're a young starting pitcher, an older starting pitcher, or guys coming out of that bullpen, you have to have a short memory. And that served him well the next couple times out.
2-2 is right there. Strike 3 called. First punch out for Rodon.
That's a backdoor slider. That's one that you start over the left-handed batter's box. You snap it over the outside corner, and most likely a hitter will give up on it. Chris Sale's got a good one, but the look on Chris Young's face will show you that Rodon's got a pretty good one also.
2 out for Travis Shaw, who is the first baseman. He came up as a first baseman, played some third base as well here in the Red Sox organization. It was interesting talking to John Farrell before the game. You and I were sitting in there hearing about when Travis Shaw really made a name for himself as a possible third baseman. We will have to tell you about that next time he comes up, because he is double parked. We call it tease in the industry. 2-0 White Sox after 1.5.
Pride with White Sox checking, an official White Sox debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC. We just had one of Chicago's finest stop in the booth. Nice to know he is around, protecting you especially, but they do a great job.
They do.
And it's nice to see them ever present.
Yes.
At the old ball yard.
Especially when you're near me.
No, and I noticed that he did not decide to slap the cuffs on you, so you'll be here the remainder of the game at least.
Well, even if he did, he didn't knock and announce when he was coming in, so he would have had a procedural issue.
That's right, Counselor, I forgot.
Yes. Here's Brett Lawrie. 2-0 lead on the board for the White Sox on a Jose Abreu home run. Talked to Brett very briefly before the game. His walk rate is significantly higher this year than it's ever been in his major league career. And he said, you know, the way our team is, I feel like I can do more for the team by seeing more pitches. It's a deeper lineup. Takes that one. Ball and a strike on Lawrie, who's walked 14 times to lead the team.
Well, for whatever reason, he's really struggled against Clay Buchholz. I mean, struggled to the tune of 3 for 28. That's a lot of struggles.
Put a lot of balls in play, just 3 strikeouts against him. 2 balls and a strike on Buchholz.
Man behind the plate is coming back from Tommy John surgery, Christian Vasquez. He is one of the best young defensive catchers around. John Farrell said the arm is not quite 100%, but it's still pretty good.
3 balls and a strike on Lawrie, who walked a pair of times yesterday.
Now Brett's going to get that fastball as you look at Jerry Sands, who's waiting patiently in the on-deck circle with his .290 batting average.
The 3-1 pitch. Lawrie fouls it away, 3-2. Clay Buchholz, 42nd overall pick back in 2005 out of Angelina College in Texas by way of McNeese State in Louisiana. Outside ball for Brett Lawrie, ups his walk total to 15. Customize your own Pick 7 or Pick 14 season flex plan today. The Pick 7 and Pick 14 plans feature savings on individual game tickets. For tickets or more information, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000. As low as $55 for one of those Pick 7 flex plans. Now Jerry Sands, who's got 31 at-bats to his name this year. Jerry a little less upright in his stance. He leaned over a little more.
It's hard to really tell. He might be trying to adjust from at bat to at bat, but whatever it is, he's swinging the bat pretty well. And Brett Lawrie's got to be careful at first base because Buchholz has very quick feet. He can get over to first base pretty quickly.
As he does there.
Our Sox have not been exactly a running bunch. 10 stolen bases. They've been caught 7 times. It's not a very good percentage.
Red Sox, meantime, 22 steals to lead Major League Baseball coming into this series as Jerry Sands visits the seats behind home plate with a foul ball, 0-2.
There is one thing I didn't think I would ever say.
What's that?
And that is, coming into this ball game, our Sox had walked 87 times to the Red Sox 82 times. The Red Sox normally one of the most patient teams in all of baseball, and this year our Sox a little more patient than they are.
Jerry Sands has at least been property of both of these teams. He's now playing for the White Sox. He was acquired in a trade in October of 2012 by Boston, but then the Red Sox traded him later that offseason, December 26th, day after Christmas. That's strike 3 on a breaking ball in the outside corner and 1 away.
It was a perfect curveball, and Buchholz used to have one of the better breaking balls around. If he keeps throwing it like that, he will have rediscovered it and maybe gotten some more confidence. That's one of the things that he's been lacking. And I think in talking with John Farrell, he wants him to be more aggressive, go right at hitters, and don't try to nip at the corners, especially with the first pitch. First pitch, you want to use outer third of the plate if you go there, inner third if you go there. But you want to induce somebody to swing on the first pitch and put it in play.
Like there you're saying too fine.
Yeah, I mean, for the first pitch, it would be to a pitcher's advantage to throw a strike. But by trying to nip the outside corner, you give yourself no margin for error. So if the hitter doesn't swing, now it sets up an offensive at bat, and he's got to make a pitch behind in the count. If you make too many of those, you're going to wind up with a lot of runs.
Laurie at first, 1 down, and Navarro takes ball 2. Well, the White Sox have only swung this year at about 27% of first pitches. Navarro has been one of the more choosy players at 20% as Laurie gets back to first.
There's a lot of teams that routinely go after the first pitch. And there are other teams who like to take a look at a guy if they haven't seen him for a while, even though you have all kinds of tape on him.
Navarro makes him throw a strike. It's 2-1. White Sox come in 4 games up on the Tigers as play started today. The Royals were 4.5 back, but they have fallen to Dusty Baker's Nationals today after a big first inning from Washington. So the White Sox a chance to pick up a game on Kansas City.
Well, now if indeed Laurie's going to run, and he tried to break last time, as you see, as we stand, a 4.5 game lead over the Detroit Tigers.
Tigers lost earlier 4-0 to Corey Kluber and the Indians. Left field side, Young watches it bounce in front of him. No play on a flare from Navarro. 2 on, 1 out. Drawing a laugh from the Sox catcher.
He got his fastball, and he got it in a pretty good spot. Hit it off the end of the bat. And when a team is going pretty well, a lot of these find a place to land safely.
So 2 on, 1 out for Jackson. And the real good news for the White Sox is, this is going to be simplistic. When you're leading, you don't have to face the real treasures in a bullpen. But the Red Sox have as strong of a back end 8th, 9th of a bullpen as you might see in Major League Baseball as Jackson fouls it away.
Well, last night we saw one of their newest additions who was just back after getting hurt. Smith threw the ball exceptionally well. And what John Farrell says is it gives them now a way to extend the back end. They've got Craig Kimbrell at the back, and he's one of the best closers in all of baseball. And they got Koji Uhura, who is going to be their setup man. They've got guys who throw it real well on the back end.
Buchholz pumps in strike 2. And the White Sox last night only had to use 1 inning worth out of the bullpen. That was David Robertson for his 9th save in 10 tries. Laurie at second, Navarro at first.
Bradley and Betts in center and right. They have pretty good and very accurate arms. Time he tried a cutter but swept it out of the zone.
You said it earlier, Clay Buchholz has been throwing that cutter quite a bit.
Yeah, he's just changed as a pitcher. When he first started, it was here's my fastball at 97 with a big overhand hook and the occasional change. And now, not quite so much.
On the ground to Bogarts, flip to Pedroia, and the turn is there for the double play to retire the side. Sox leave one and leave 2-0 over the Red Sox.
Ball underwent left shoulder surgery yesterday, and he is expected to miss the rest of the season. You look at those numbers, he signed a huge contract with the Red Sox. The injury report is brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have any shoulder or elbow problems, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342.
That was an interesting injury because, as we were talking about earlier, Travis Shaw, as John Farrell told us before the game, did so much at the end of last season that he was going to make it a competition anyway at that position coming into spring training for the Red Sox.
And then, being an open competition, what Farrell said was that Travis Shaw just played rings around Sandoval. It had nothing to do with any injury or anything else. He said they're a much better team with Shaw at third base.
Jimmy Rollins throws out Rutledge for out number one. Sox fans, join us as we welcome back White Sox greats on a homecoming weekend, Friday, May 20th to Sunday, May 22nd, when the White Sox battle the Royals. Homecoming weekend presented by the Village of Bedford Park. Bring your business home to Bedford Park and win big. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com. Some new additions to homecoming weekend. Lance Johnson scheduled to be here. Roberto Hernandez scheduled to be here, the outstanding closer for the White Sox.
And one of the guys who was always scheduled, Jack McDowell, and seven-time All-Star Tim Raines will both be here over that star-studded weekend.
We hope to have lots of guests in the booth over the weekend to chat with some of the White Sox greats from the 90s and beyond.
You're looking at one of the promising young players in the major leagues, Christian Vasquez, out of Bayamon, Puerto Rico. And last year did not play, recovering from Tommy John surgery. Not a common injury among catchers. But Vasquez, a wizard with the glove and getting better with the bat.
When he first came up, he threw out 15 of his first 29 prospective base stealers. That's over 51%.
Well, Farrell said that before the arm injury, and he expects to have him back completely 100% throwing wise. He said beforehand, wasn't anybody in baseball who threw better than Vasquez. Now it gives them an interesting situation, and that is they've got another promising young catcher by the name of Blake Swihart, former #1 draft pick, who did a pretty decent job. He had 274 last year in 84 games, and he's in the minor leagues. That's a very inviting trade chip if Dave Dombrowski decides to go on the market.
And what they've done with Swihart to up his value either to them or to somebody else is he's playing some outfield with AAA Pawtucket now. He's not hitting great this season, but he's playing some outfield.
Well, anytime you can find a guy who can catch and is a switch hitter and had a season already where he hit 274, that's a valuable guy.
Now foul again by Vasquez. He'll see pitch number 8 forthcoming.
In the meantime, only one hit the first time through the order, quickly erased on a pretty spiffy 3-5-3 double play. The reason why the 5 was inserted in there was the severe shift against David Ortiz, and thought Frazier was the man to make the return throw to Jose Abreu.
Frazier getting to play a little league position again. He's a former shortstop. Rodon the deflection. Rollins the pickup, and it's late. So an infield hit for Vasquez.
One of the few he will get, and one of those plays that I think Carlos Rodon would probably tell you he should have made. Anytime you get a ball hit to the glove side, you should catch it. And that is hit right to the glove side, deflects off the glove. So now he's got a runner on. Just a one hopper back to him. He just missed it. Simple as that. A little disappointed in himself, I'm sure. But now he has to figure out who's going to be the pivot man if the ball is going to hit back to him, because once again they go into a severe shift. So it's going to have to be Jimmy Rollins if they stay in this shift through the entire at bat.
Jackie Bradley Jr., the recipient of that shift, and he flicks the ball to left field. Second hit of the series for the 26-year-old outfielder.
Inside out swing on an inside fastball, and the reports on Bradley coming up was he's going to be a superior defensive outfielder, but they worried a bit about his bat. Well, that hasn't been the case, as he's swinging the bat a whole lot better. And although he hit 249 last year, he's looking a whole lot better than that this year, with 13 runs driven in at the bottom part of this order.
Entering this series, he had 71 hits in his last 74 games, 41 of those for extra bases. He had really turned it around the last few months, dating back to last year. So Mookie Betts, one strike on him. Boy, John Farrell couldn't say enough about Mookie Betts before the game today.
Before he came up, he was one of the highest rated prospects in all of baseball. And that one gets away. Both runners will advance. That was a slider that Deanna could not control. So we're out of the double play scenario. Actually, that happened to be a straight change, and it bounced off the body and bounded away.
You think he got crossed up a little bit?
I just think it took a hop that he wasn't expecting. I think he felt that on a straight change it would probably flatten out, where on a slider it probably would kick up. That wasn't the case. On a straight change it actually did kick up and kicked away.
Like a little bit of a late reaction. 2-1 on Betts. Very stoic 23-year-old Mookie Betts.
Well, because of the tremendous talent coming out of the system, and John Farrell said the next wave actually is in high A right now if you take Swihart out of the equation. But this wave of young players that came to the major leagues necessitated that Boston start to change positions on a lot of these guys. Betts played the infield his entire career. He played center last year, and now he's playing right field.
Two and two. And he's got strike three. Rodon gets rid of Betts.
Good fastball on the outside corner. And he got by a very tough hitter in a situation where a ground ball to the middle infield would have scored a run. No contact by Betts. That's a big pitch. He goes down swinging for the 23rd time in 27 games.
Two down, strike one on Xander Bogaerts, who singled back in the first. This is not Aruba weather.
No,
Mr.
and Bogaerts coming from Aruba didn't have that much baseball play in him. So because he's kind of late to the game, he still has a phenomenal upside. Hit .320 last year. He's 6'2", 210, very strong. He was, up until a couple of years ago, a defensive liability. The third base coach, Brian Butterfield, worked with him long and hard in the infield, and he's made massive strides in that department.
Inside and low, 2-1. In case you're wondering, it is currently 82 degrees in Aruba, in the hometown of Xander Bogaerts, Oranjestad. And it's not 82 here.
49 at this point.
Left side and through. One run in with Vasquez. And Bradley remains at third. The Red Sox have their first run on an RBI single from Xander Bogaerts.
12th run batted in by Bogaerts, who's got a single to right, a single to left. And both of them hit hard. So the play that probably should have been made but wasn't has come back to haunt Carlos Rodon. Anytime you give a team another out in an inning, especially a team with the offensive talent of the Red Sox, you're asking for trouble.
So here is David Ortiz. You talk about trouble, you got to face Ortiz with 2 outs on the board rather than get him in the very next inning.
He has announced he's going to call it a career after this year, but he's doing so well it's hard to conceive of that.
Throw to third, and Frazier keeps the ball from going to left. Question is Jackie Bradley Jr. okay on that slide back in?
Trainer's going to come out, and he was in some pain. We'll take another look at it. Might have had a shot.
Looks like he caught a spike.
Yep, apparently it's spike of Frazier, and he couldn't do anything about it. He was trying to keep the ball out of left field. So he's looking at the right hand. If this throw is on the money, there's a good chance they get him. But Todd Frazier did a great job in sliding back to the bag. He took what looked like the ring finger on the right hand, might have been the middle finger, and looked like he bent it back. One of those guys they certainly cannot afford to lose because of his defensive prowess.
He will stay in the game. Count 1-1 on Ortiz with his 508 career home runs. 1-2.
What Farrell said was, if this year continues for David, as it has started with 5 home runs and 19 driven in. He said it's hard to conceive that the Boston Red Sox wouldn't try to do everything they could from a monetary standpoint to bring him back for at least one more year. Remembering David in the early days with Minnesota and looking at him now, he's in better shape today than he most likely has been in his entire career.
And what a career, too. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. He was cast off from Minnesota. He made his debut in 1997. It's a 20-year career in the majors. Ortiz in the air, didn't get all of it. Austin Jackson secures it with a big grin. 2-1 White Sox after 2.5.
It's time for the Subway third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do. Pally?
You can win that tonight. You can win any number of other prizes here on our prize shelf.
Yes, it's a big night here. We obviously have a gnome, but those of you who really want one, well, we'll talk about that later, but we have the autographed Altoids and a special edition.
Yeah, a new prize
that you dug up, and that was
Scott Merkin, the White Sox beat writer, has signed a package of marshmallow peeps that you can win. We were thrashing Scott during spring training for staying home for a game and eating marshmallow peeps, so he decided to sign those for us. We also have the beautiful statue that you unearthed from the mines deep in the ballpark as well.
Right.
And what's that statue from, Steve?
Well, that statue was given to the guy who won the most something or other. Is that the fantasy cap that the White Sox have? I'm not sure exactly.
I thought it was maybe a pie eating contest or something with a baseball bat.
Might have been that, I'm not sure, but we will check with the gnome producers in Omaha and see if we can get more made. But right now it's been tough.
Omaha, Nebraska?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're difficult to come by, those little guys.
They are. Some fine prizes tonight for Sox Math. We're going to play on the top of the fourth inning. Hope you can join us for that. Use the hashtag SoxMath with the correct answer. We're going for speed tonight as Adam Eaton takes a strike. 3-1 to Adam.
Adam should get a pretty good pitch to hit here if indeed Buchholz throws it in the zone, because left-handers have really hurt him this year. He's had a big problem getting the left-handers out.
Eaton sharply hit, and Xander Bogaerts is there at shortstop.
He crushes this one, but unfortunately Bogaerts is in position to make the play. Looks over at Jordan Baker and said, yes, I did catch it, didn't I? Waiting for an acknowledgement, and he got the acknowledgement.
And thus, out number one in the home third. To bring up Jimmy Rollins, who singled and scored on that Abreu 2-run homer in the first inning. Dustin Pedroia for the second out. White Sox fans, vote now for your favorite moments and milestones from the first 25 years of U.S. Cellular Field. Head-to-head matchups run through May 19th, and the defining moment will be revealed during homecoming weekend, presented by the Village of Bedford Park, May 20th through the 22nd. Visit whitesOx.com/USCF25 to vote today. If you're going to vote tonight, we ask that you use, if you're in the ballpark, you use your gloves which have texting fingers on them. You seen those, Steve?
I have not.
They make gloves now.
Then I haven't looked for them.
Brave inside for ball one. You only see things that you look for?
Yes.
Is that right?
Well, especially from the technology world.
Well, they have texting gloves now that you
Yes.
can wear. They have little tips on them that allow you to text instead of your typical ham-handed mitten texting that you do.
I'm actually trying to make sure that I'm in weather consistently where I don't need gloves to text.
1-0 on Abreu. And a hook for a strike from play Buchholz, 1-1.
Usually what happens when a guy hits a home run on an inside fastball, he starts to see a few pitches away. It normally lends itself to base hit in the opposite direction, meaning right and right center. And here's a slider coming up.
Stayed up, Abreu to right field. Mookie Betts in his tracks for a 1-2-3 inning, the first of the night. For the right-hander, Buchholz. To the fourth we go. Hashtag SoxMath on Twitter. First correct answer wins a prize. Do these in order and don't get snarky with us. The regular jersey number that Frank Thomas wore. Subtract Robin Ventura's jersey number. The iconic jersey number with the White Sox. Multiply Adam Eaton's current jersey number and divide the number of teams who share the AL Central Division with the White Sox. We're going for speed tonight. Hashtag SoxMath on Twitter. First correct answer wins a prize off the prize shelf, including Scott Merkin autographed marshmallow piece.
This is a particularly easy one. Yeah, I had it in the second inning.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
You were on it. Ball to strike on Pedroia, who's 0 for 1 with a line out to shortstop. Brett Laurie gobbles it up. One away.
One of the reasons why Pedroia is off to such a great start is the fact that he's willing this year to go to right and right center field. The previous few years, well, many years for him, he was a dead pull hitter, and you could defend him a certain way, pitch him a certain way, and although he certainly got his share of hits, as the MVP award would show you, he's much more difficult these days to get out knowing that he'll use right and right center field.
You think as hitters grow older, they understand more how to use the whole field? Is that a general trend that you've seen?
It really depends on the hitter and what he's trying to get out of, what abilities he has. There are certain guys that as they get a bit older, they start thinking instead of average, they start thinking about power. And when they start thinking about power, most guys think pull first, and then they will go to the opposite field if the pitcher forces them to do that.
Quick 3-0 count from Rodon to Young. Is there for a strike. 3-1 to Chris Young, who played at least 100 games in Major League Baseball. As it's time to hide, evidently. Can't hide from our cameras.
Well, because of the skin cancer scare, you don't want to get any lunar rays on you.
The lunar rays are causing oncology problems.
Sure.
Is that right?
I believe so. At least I believe that's what he believes.
It's a good look. Would look even better with a White Sox fedora on it.
I've got a couple of those.
You do?
And I think they will make an appearance later today. Carlos Sanchez has his cool weather gear out.
That's one of those big hats. That's a big puffy hat. And on 3-2, close pitch. Young takes a walk.
Looked like a pretty good pitch. Had just a piece maybe, but didn't get the benefit of the call as we'll take another look on our Xfinity pitch tracks. I think he threw him a high slider. Carlos certainly wanted it. The pitchers want most of those.
Pitchers want all of those.
Yes, most all of them.
Travis Shaw gets plunked. 2 on, 1 out to bring up Rutledge.
And he's still feeling the effects of that as John Farrell wants to come out. That one taking his breath away. Got him off the right elbow, just above it, it looks like. And he is not wearing any protection on that lead elbow, which is something we've seen a lot of hitters do and something that he might think about doing from now on.
Barry Bonds, end of his career, went up there sponsored by Lockheed Martin.
Well, he was making sure if he got hit, because he stood right on top of the plate, if he got hit, he wasn't going to feel it.
Yeah. I mean, you can wear basically whatever you want.
Yeah, you can. That's one of the big differences in maybe the last 20 years, I would say, is that hitters do armor up that lead elbow, and consequently they can stand on top of the plate a little more easily without having to worry about just what he's shaking off right now.
What's he feeling here with where the ball hit?
But because I never caught a line drive just behind the elbow, I can imagine that right now, first thing that happens is it starts to go numb and tingle. The other thing that happens is you swear to yourself under your breath, and then you try to make sure that it goes away sometime before the next millennium.
It's a strike to Rutledge. You're saying, oh darn, things like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That was uncomfortable.
Yes.
He said calmly.
Jeez.
You know, leave it to Beaver rerun. 1 strike on Rutledge.
Yes, we are, Lumpy.
1-1. All right. You do have some Eddie Haskell tendencies, you know.
True. Meantime, what I would be looking for is the same thing that Carlos is looking for. And that is a ground ball off the bat of Rutledge, who's not overly quick.
They got it last time, 6-3 ground out.
And turn it into 2.
just missed.
And he looked in at Tim Timmons, who said it was off the plate outside. Rutledge was inserted late into the lineup. Hanley Ramirez under the weather, so he was taken out of the lineup. Shaw was then shifted from third to first. Rutledge playing third.
You know, we talked about it. Flu-like symptoms. Are flu-like symptoms contagious, like the flu is?
Well, I would like to tell you that they weren't. But if it's a virus, yes. If it's food poisoning or something along those lines, no. Unless you contract what I got eating where I ate. In this case, it's not me, though, it's him. So eating where he ate.
Thanks, Doc.
Thanks.
3-2. Navarro trying to frame it for him and didn't get the call.
67 pitches. That's pretty high total at this point, and this ball is off the plate. This is not a strike. Deanna tried to bring it way back, but that was a little too far.
Well, you see 68 pitches now for Carlos Rodon, and entering play tonight, White Sox pitchers had thrown fewer than 16 pitches per inning, 15.8, which is 5th fewest in Major League Baseball.
Pitching just been dominant all over. Starting rotation has been very good, and the bullpen has been great.
3-2 pitch. He went after ball 4. Laurie giving chase. He's up and not in time. They are loaded for the Red Sox in the 4th.
Brett was playing up the middle and couldn't get to the ball in time to get Rutledge, who reached out and kind of had a running start. So it'll bring Don Cooper out. He was taking a look over at third, and I'm not quite sure why. Because on a ground ball to second, there's no way that Young is going to try to score. But now Tim Timmons comes out to the mound. He wants to break this up, and he's going to leave Carlos with a positive thought. And he's talking about the ground ball again. So runners going, and Young pulls up. This ball's in the infield. So Brett is staring at a stationary man at third.
So bases loaded, 1 out for Vasquez. Red Sox catcher who fouls the first pitch away, 0-1.
He's a little unhappy with himself. He thought that he got a very hittable pitch and just didn't hit it.
Oh, 2 back to the Hawaiian shirt on June 11th.
Vasquez, when he was healthy before Tommy John, hit 18 home runs at Greenville. At 283 that year. That was 2011. So they felt that he would eventually consistently hit the ball out of the ballpark, and there's a very good chance that he will. Hopefully not tonight.
Made his major league debut against the White Sox a couple of years ago in July. In a big spot here, bases loaded, 1 out, 4th inning. Rodon to Vasquez. Up and in, fouled again.
3 fastballs in a row, and now's the time for that wipeout slider. And that's where Deanna's got to make sure that he smothers everything. With Young still running pretty well, and he's at third base, 90 feet away from scoring the tying run.
Bases loaded, 1 out, 0-2. Grounded to short. Rollins takes it himself. Double play. Jimmy Rollins helps Rodon get out of the straitjacket in the fourth.
And in a big spot with a one-run lead, you need a ground ball, and that good slider was pounded right at Rollins, and he does the right thing. If you don't have to make an additional throw, don't make it. He knew that Vasquez, being a catcher, doesn't run particularly well, so he looks up, sees where Vasquez is, and throws him out to complete the double play out of the inning with a 2-1 lead.
Whether this is right or wrong, we're almost getting to the point a month plus into this season that you expect that sort of thing to happen for this team that's currently 11 games over 500.
Well, that's most likely what Don Cooper left him with when he left the mound, that positive thought of throwing the other ground ball, getting the double play, and out of the inning.
Todd Frazier is 0 for 1. Sees a high breaking ball. He's had enough of that, though. With the knuckleball last night, we were talking about it off air. Stephen Wright had a knuckleball that was flying last night.
Yeah, well, it was rising surprisingly, and then dipping, was moving everywhere. It was pretty tough to follow.
Took a little off. 1-1 on Frazier.
Bill Colt's got a little lucky. That was supposed to be a cutter. Wound up not doing anything. Actually might have backed up, but it was right down the middle of the plate.
We mentioned this last night. Todd Frazier with 5 two-strike home runs, leading Major League Baseball.
Well, he's got himself a 1-2 count here. And a guy with a pretty good curveball who wants to throw a changeup.
Popped it up. Foul territory. Vasquez. And Rutledge gets over there for out number 1. Here's your Sox math answer tonight. So many correct answers. We're going to give away 2 prizes. Frank Ward 35, Robin 23, Adams 1. Multiply that 12 times 1 divided by the other 4 teams in the AL Central. Your answer's 3. SSSP Knowles. We'll throw another one into the prize package we're sending you anyway, Patrick. And it's Mike Fagan, also a winner. Well done by everybody tonight on Sox Math. Marshmallow Peeps are up for grabs.
That's been a very hot item. We can't keep them on the shelf.
Well, we actually can. They're still sitting on the shelf. The ball to Melky Cabrera with a 2-1 lead for the White Sox on the Jose Abreu 2-run homer.
Melky hit the ball pretty well last time.
2-0 on Melky Cabrera.
That's what hitters really love to see, and that's 2 curveballs both miss, knowing that pitcher doesn't want to walk you, and he will probably come back with some variation of the fastball. Actually, he will come back with a real fastball.
As long as he's not distracted by southpaw putting the hex on him behind home plate.
Oh, you got to watch the paw. He's a crafty fellow.
You're on a nickname basis with him?
Oh yeah, me and the paw are close.
The paw.
Yeah, we tweet one another during the wintertime, and it's not easy for him with those paws.
Well, he's got the texting gloves. 2-2 on Melky.
George Jacobs in that very colorful jacket next to the paw.
George and his pit crew always here at the ball yard. Love seeing George.
Very good seats.
Bouncing ball to first. Travis Shaw. Transplant from third back to first to Buchholz. 2 down. And 6 in a row retired by Clay Buchholz.
So Dave Dombrowski, man who runs the show in Boston, coming over from Detroit. He was decked out in his Boston regalia. Red sweater, red shirt, blue pants, and the thing that was the spiffiest was the red socks he was wearing tonight.
Well, it's almost 2 on the nose, right? When you're the GM of the Red Sox, you're walking around in red socks.
Red socks, yeah. I told him it was a walking cliche, but he thought that he was looking pretty good. Dave is a longtime baseball man. Did a great job in Detroit. Got there, got awfully close to getting the whole thing. Came up a little short.
Him wearing red socks, Dave Dombrowski, is almost like you carrying a boulder around, being Steve Stone. You ever think about doing that? The Prometheus look?
I'd rather the red socks, actually. Prometheus, huh? I didn't think you'd be able to get that in the broadcast tonight.
Oh, we're on fire. 3-0 on Laurie. Brett, 3 walks in the series already, and a 3-0 count from Buchholz here in the 4th. Second walk tonight for Brett Laurie. Comes with 2 out in the 4th.
Pretty hard to believe. If you're Clay Buchholz, you're standing out there on the mound and wondering how in the world, when a guy is hitting 107 off your lifetime, you have walked him twice. That's exactly what's happened. So in keeping the door open, let's see if Jerry Sands can take advantage of what has not been a whole lot of wildness, just a whole lot of wildness to Brett Laurie.
10 pitches to Brett, 8 out of the zone. No walks anywhere else in the scorebook tonight for Clay Buchholz. It's ball 1, and here comes Vasquez in a hurry to talk to his right-hander.
Gives him a little pound on the chest and says, "Get the ball over the plate."
Easy as that, huh?
You just got to leave him again with something positive, whether the catcher goes out or the pitching coach goes out, or occasionally the manager will actually go out without taking the pitcher out. You are leaving him with something that he can think about and try to execute.
That's high, 2-0 on Sands. Now what gives after your message leads to ball 2?
What happens is you're going to throw a fastball because you've thrown 6 straight bad ones. And if it's hittable, a good strong hitter should have a very good swing here. Jerry Sands is going to get something that's very hittable. You would think middle out. That's one if you can get a good piece of that usually goes out in center field.
He's got a homer to center already this year on the first long road trip against the Minnesota Twins.
That was on a sweeping cutter that I believe came against Phil Hughes that he hit awfully hard and hit it a long way.
2-0. He takes.
Well, he got 91 right down the middle.
Third base, Rutledge. And they cut down Laurie for the final out of the inning. We've played 4 tonight. 2-1 White Sox at home.
Brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the curious bank.
There is some question, evidently, on Sox Math tonight of whether or not the Marshmallow Peeps that Scott Merkin signed for us on the prize shelf are authentic. He has tweeted out that he can verify they are his original signature in 5:05 today. So that's good news. No certificate of authenticity comes with the signed Marshmallow Peeps. However, you may receive them if you won tonight and you ask for them. Congratulations to our winners this evening. Jackie Bradley Jr. on 1-0 takes a delayed strike call, 1-1.
He took an inside pitch the last time, flipped it into left field. That time he just looked at an inside pitch. And I'm talking about Tim Timmons, said it was on the plate.
And that one off the plate, but swung through. Strike 3, third punch out for Rodon.
He set him up with an inside fastball and then drops one out of the zone and away. Good hard slider, and Bradley, no match for that one. Just the lone walk, that coming to Young last inning.
Ball 1 to Mookie Betts. White Sox still leading on the strength of the Abreu home run. Austin Jackson started back, has time. 2 away. Join us at U.S. Cellular Field as the White Sox face the Minnesota Twins this Saturday, May 7th. First 20,000 fans will receive a Chris Sale K-Counter bobblehead presented by Wintrust Community Banks. Visit WhiteSox.com to purchase your tickets today. Don Cooper said to us before the game that he wants one of those Chris Sale K counters. Make sure he has one.
Well, look, that is a handsome K counter. Last year, you could count to 274.
Chris Sale he's made his way deeper into games this year, as we talked about, by throwing that 89, 90 mile an hour fastball and having fewer strikeouts, but the K counter still stands.
And I think occasionally they're going to try to get him that extra day of work on the 6th day. And I think with an eye ahead to, shall we say it, the playoffs, I think you want to keep all of your pitchers who are going to go, the first 3 especially, you want to make sure that they're 100%. And to do that the 6th day every now and then, and limiting the innings that they go, is not a bad idea.
Rodon lost him. Xander Bogaerts a 4-pitch walk. It's an 0-1-2-3 inning here. What does that do for a pitcher? I mean, it's an extra day here and there. How much can that mean?
Well, it depends on how many times you go on the 6th day over the course of the year. It might mean 2 or 3 less starts, which in the case of Chris Sale is going to mean at least 21, possibly more innings. And when you tack that on to the end of the year, if you do optimistically get into the playoffs, the inning saving is going to help. And now Donner's going out there. He wants a word with Rodon, who has lost his release point. And occasionally what will happen with all pitchers, and Don Cooper certainly will figure this out very quickly, as he usually does when pitchers have problems, they don't keep their weight over the back foot long enough, which causes you to open up more quickly. So you have to try to stay back, and then your release point will stay the same, and you'll be able to throw it to either side of the plate with regularity.
1-1 from Rodon to Ortiz, who is so far in this series 0 for 5. Sox have done a pretty good job of keeping the big bats down. Eaton back of the wall, and this is out of here. David Ortiz gives the Red Sox the lead.
Two-run homer, his 6th of the year. He's driven in 21. That was a fastball thigh high over the inner third of the plate, and the big man put a charge into it.
Two-run home run, David Ortiz, and the first lead of the series for the Red Sox.
If you go inside, you've got to stay up, and Ortiz knows this one's gone. When you hit 509 of them, you just have a feeling when you get it all, and he got most of it.
So the 2-out walk leads to Ortiz hitting, which leads to a Red Sox advantage here in the 5th. You've said it. Extra pitches, extra batters usually pay dividends the wrong way.
Yeah, not against this team. This Boston team is an exceptional hitting bunch. Every hit previous to that 2-run homer was a single. Big Papi, as he's done so often, especially against the Sox and most teams, he hit that ball a long way.
509 home runs for his career, the 3rd most active homers. Pedroia goes down. Inning over, but David Ortiz on his farewell tour. Keeping the big bats down. A long drive to make it 3-2. Eaton back in the
Manage the game along with Robin by logging on to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. The Sox Game Zone is powered by Dodd Camera, family owned for 125 years, handling all your photographic needs. Dodd Camera, where the focus is on you.
3-2 Red Sox after 4.5 tonight from U.S. Cellular Field on the 2-run home run from David Ortiz, his 18th homer all time at U.S. Cellular Field. He made his major league debut in this city as well. He was on the road playing the Cubs with the Twins. Strike called on Deanna Navarro, 0-1.
Well, that would suggest, because then the Sox pitchers wouldn't have to face him, that he would seek retirement after this year. But the way he's hitting, looks to me like he's hitting every bit as well as he ever has. So perhaps he will rethink that, as many boxers do. They announce their retirement after a tough battle, and then they do come back.
You know, there's one very famous instance of that in this city you may have heard about. There was a very famous fax machine, and all it said was "he's back," referring to Michael Jordan going back to the Bulls for his second stint.
That worked out pretty well.
It did.
Yeah.
Some rings. We hear 1-2 on Navarro. There are people who remember where they were when they heard the news that Michael was coming back.
It was very big news.
Xander Bogaerts, one away in the home fifth. White Sox, Red Sox tomorrow. One more game, 7:10 first pitch local time. Henry Owens scheduled to face Eric Johnson, who has yet to be recalled from Charlotte, but that is the plan with John Danks designated for assignment. As we told you yesterday, young pitcher Owens and Eric Johnson, who's been up already once this season.
Owens has a very good straight change. That is his primary pitch. And Eric Johnson, when he's right, he's got a very good slider. So we'll see what he brings back with him from the minor leagues.
A 1 to Jackson from Buckholz. Fades inside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Send along best wishes on a belated happy birthday to anybody whose birthday was not today, or no, actually, it was Mickey Norton, who's a wonderful woman, part owner of the Sox and the Bulls. Mickey comes to just about each and every game, and she celebrated her birthday at the end of April. So happy birthday, Mickey.
A lot of dedicated Sox fans.
They are that, and they're certainly, as we are, enjoying this year, because it's been exciting, especially when you have a team that scores late runs consistently, and they're going to have to do that here tonight.
Fastball at 91, 2 down in the 5th. Bring your little all-star inside the game. Fans 13 and under can join the White Sox Kids Club for special Kids Club giveaways, free White Sox tickets, and exclusive events. Head to whitesox.com/Kids Club today to join. If you are over 13, you may not join the Kids Club. If you're a Red Sox fan and you'd like to join the White Sox Kids Club, you're welcome to do so. We will change your socks. The Sloganeers.
There you go. That's
revving the engines to get those bumper stickers made. 2 out for Adam Eaton, who's 0 for 2. Nearly got popped with that pitch. Ball and a strike.
If he decides that he, at some time, not this at bat now, but he wants to bunt, they're way back on the right side, Pedroia and Shaw.
One and 2 for Adam Eaton, who has catalyzed some rallies for the Sox with bunts in the past week.
And Buckholz gave up a base hit and a 2-run homer in the first inning. And since then, just one lone single, that coming by Deanna Navarro in the second.
Bogarts in a hurry. Nice transfer. Down goes Shaw. Inning over. 1-2-3 inning. Ending with the Eaton collision. To the sixth we go in a one-run game. Here at U.S. Cellular Field, 3-2 your score right now. The Red Sox in the lead.
Well, so far, Clay Buchholz's thrown the ball pretty well, probably as well as he's thrown it, or better than he's thrown it all year. Carlos Rodon made a mistake, a walk, and then Big Papi, who's hit a whole lot of home runs, hit one, and so Sox have got to come back in this one. And I think that they've come back in enough games where they're feeling pretty good about their position.
You almost get used to it. With all the runs they've scored late in games this season, the bullpen, again, though, the Red Sox bullpen is not your average bullpen in the 8th and 9th innings.
No, and usually if you can leave them 9 or less outs to cover, that bullpen has been awfully good. But the Sox have made a habit of coming back against very talented bullpens.
Strike to Chris Young, who's walked and struck out thus far tonight. Starting to save. Last time he was up, from 2007 to last year, he had played at least 100 games in the majors every year. But in 2014, he's been a solid part of many orders, especially with the Diamondbacks on the way up.
And now he's pretty much a platoon player.
Brock Holt, the other left fielder, the left-hand bat in that platoon.
And Holt's a good one, and that's somebody we'll see tomorrow night, I'm sure.
Called strike 3.
This one might have been a touch off the plate. And I think that Chris Young was kind of surprised, but he goes down on strikes for the second time. It's been a contact-free night for Chris Young, a walk and 2 strikeouts.
True outcomes this evening for Young as Travis Shaw takes a ball. Travis Shaw, the Kent State alum, as you are. It's a very important day in American history, the 46th anniversary of the whole situation at Kent State that spawned the tune Ohio, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. You were just out of school at that time, right?
And unfortunately, yeah, the 4 students shot and killed, 12 injured 46 years ago today. And one of the women was a sweetheart of my fraternity. Sandy Scheuer was her name.
2-2 on Travis Shaw. You were in Amarillo, Texas at the time, right?
I was in AA. Just graduated, actually.
Fastball blew it by him. Down goes Shaw, 2 away. 3 straight strikeouts for Rodon.
Well, you can tell that he wasn't happy with last inning because he's rushing it up there better than he's thrown all night. That was 96 in on the hands. A perfect spot for it. His best fastball in an unhittable location. And 2 up, 2 strikeouts, and 3 strikeouts in a row after the home run.
Ball no strikes on Josh Rutledge, the former Colorado Rocky.
101 pitches.
Got any Dalmatians on the prize shelf too? Like to jump in with?
That's for the next one.
It's off the plate. 3-0. Pitch number 102 for your knowledge.
It is coming.
3-1 from Rodon to Rutledge, a late addition to the lineup. Hanley Ramirez out with what seems to be the flu as Christian Vasquez gets ready just in case in the on deck circle. 3-2.
That time, good moving fastball out away.
Will it be 3 straight strikeouts? 3-2. Just off the plate, ball 4.
Red Sox in a stretch where they play 16 straight games. And it isn't easy for them. They go to play the Yankees, which is always a hotly contested series, although the Yankees off to a slow start. And then go home to entertain Oakland, Houston, before going to Kansas City. Kansas City with a big win last night did not parlay it into another one today.
Chris Medlin gave up big runs early in that game and the Nationals ran away. Time called. And here comes a meeting at the mound. Zach Putnam starting to tune up with 106 on the board for Carlos Rodon.
That's why Don is taking his time, and he's going to take as much time as Tim Timmons will let him. You know, we were going to talk about, and those of you who watch the games or follow the Sox at all know that they parted ways with Johnny Danks a couple of days ago. And wondering, for those of you not associated with the game of baseball, but might have left something that you did for quite some time, exactly what it feels like when you are brought into the office. You're talked to by both the manager and the general manager, and they tell you after a 10-year run with, in this case, a ball club, exactly what it feels like. And John might play again. I'm pretty sure he probably will, but when you get let go and you take off the uniform, it's a very difficult situation because you never really know if you're taking off what you do, what you are, or who you will be when you no longer wear that uniform. And it's pretty difficult for Johnny Danks. And so I know,
well, it's a part of you, right?
Yeah, well, it's been a part of you your whole life. And to a man in that locker room, they all wish John a whole lot of luck. I believe because of his age and the fact that he does feel 100%, that he'll find someplace else to work if he wants to do that.
There was notably tonight at the beginning of the game a number 50 carved out in the back of the mound. Don't know where it came from, don't know who put it there, but there was a 50 as the game started.
When you're around an organization as long as John was, #1 draft pick originally with the Texas Rangers, you make a lot of friends, and he's got a locker room full of them.
Popped up by Vasquez. Eaton calls off Laurie, and the Sox go to work again, trailing by a run. 2-out walk. No harm done. Bottom 6 after this. Sox here in inning number 6. We told you that there was a number 50 in the mound, carved out into the mound, and that happened very early on tonight. Carlos Rodon was the man who put it there, and our crew was on top of it. The 50 for John Danks on the mound. It shows how important of a teammate John Danks has been to the White Sox. And Rick Hahn was very clear. Look, he understands that. He really is. He was very sincere in his press conference yesterday. Chris Sale, one of Danks' closest friends, said, look, we know John Danks has been a hugely important part of this organization, but at some point the performance outweighs that, and we had to make a move. But it's going to be a fluid 5th starter situation, and we'll go from there. So bottom 6, 1-run game for the Red Sox, and Rollins, Abreu, and Frazier's schedule. There's strike 1.
This has always been the case in this game. You really never own your spot. You are borrowing it for, in some cases, longer than others, but eventually the organization will come back and reclaim it, and someone else will take that spot. Everybody knows that when they sign on. And you know, in many instances it's a cold game, but it's a game built around winning, and you try to put the best players you have on the field to win. And when you get a shot at winning, you start off as well as the Sox have. You got to take every advantage you can to try to keep yourself there.
11 overs starting play today, and there you see the soft hands of Vasquez. It's 1-2 from Buchholz to Rollins. Just 74 pitches from Clay Buchholz.
Pitchers on this Red Sox team love to throw to Christian Vasquez.
One-two. Just outside. He tried to get that one too. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And with the heart of the order coming up here in the 6th, time to get to a man who's been pretty tough so far. You look at those numbers: 3 hits in 5+ innings with 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and just a 2-run homer in the 1st. Really the only blemish.
2-2. Second base, and Pedroia for out number 1. Gold Glover makes the play. And here comes Abreu. Time for our nightly quiz of Steve Stone on his own career. How'd you do against Jim Rice?
If it was a prize fight, they'd have stopped it.
Which way?
I helped put him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, did you?
It was ghastly. And I'm sure that when the folks see that, you'll realize why I had to retire as soon as I did. It was just awful. I think I can remember 21 for 39.
Really?
One of the guys that have an indelible impression on you is a guy that I was pretty sure that the catchers were all telling him what was coming.
Your own catchers.
Yes, it was terrible. But
and so it goes.
And so he made the Hall of Fame, and I'm here with you. Yikes.
That was derogatory.
No, not.
Oh.
I mean in a good way.
More of that opposite tonal stuff. Ball and a strike on Abreu, who's provided the only offense tonight for the White Sox.
That's that I'm turning off your heater.
Turned it on.
True.
1-1, 1 out. Buchholz gets a swing and a miss. 1-2.
Matt Albers, Zach Putnam. Both have been doing a very good job lately, I would think. No runs Putnam, runs Albers.
1-2. Similar pitch, strike 3, and Abreu down on strikes for the first time tonight. Here's your answer to Sticks and Stone.
I'm not looking.
Looks rather garish, we believe. Well, hopefully those question marks stay there. Nope, they don't. 568, 4 homers, 3 triples, 4 doubles, 2 walks. You struck him out 4 times, Steve-O.
Yeah, that's great. 3 triples. Wow. Yeah, I know. Horrible.
Oh, my gosh. That's a lot of triples for Jim Rice off you. Frazier takes ball one. We have one of those triples from 1978.
Is this one he hit to center field? This one should have been out of the ballpark. I felt bad about this. Right there, a fan touches it. It should have been a home run. When you throw him that far, the man deserves to hit a home run. As it turned out, it was a triple. Not many guys hit it into the center field bleachers in old Comiskey Park.
So you don't like that he didn't get the payoff off of you?
No, he hit it out of the park. I think that was Jeffrey Mayer. I think he went
a
from there.
A very young Jeffrey Mayer.
I think he went from there and then went to Yankee Stadium and leaned over and caught that one over Tony Tarasco.
I was going to say, was Tony playing center?
Yeah.
1978?
Yeah, that was a blast. I can still hear that.
You wake up in the middle of the night hearing Jim Rice triples off of you.
In the
2-1 on Frazier.
It was a pretty good breaking ball, and you can tell when a pitcher's feeling good because at 2-0 he shows a breaking ball and catches the bottom part of the zone.
By the way, our intrepid producer John Walgren is the one who dug up that footage of you wearing the softball uniforms and giving up 900-mile triples.
Those were handsome uniforms.
They were. You filled it out quite well.
Very handsome.
3 balls and a strike on Frazier. He's got 7 homers this year. Foul first base side, 3-2. Oh, you got to make that catch.
It was a shaky first couple of innings for Buchholz, but the double play ground ball off the bat of Jackson stifled the rally in the second, and since then, Clay Buchholz has given up nothing.
Very strong start for Clay Buchholz. We did see quite a few members of the Red Sox bullpen yesterday. Carson Smith, Junichi Tozawa, Matt Barnes in the White Sox series opening win. 4-1 yesterday. 3-2 to Frazier. Breaking ball hit in the air, center field. He just missed it. Jackie Bradley waits for the arrival. And out number 3. 7 straight retired by Buchholz. 7th inning coming next.
Sox Baseball blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. So join the nation. Visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
New pitcher for the White Sox here in inning number 7, Steve Stone.
Zach Putnam comes on after 6 from Rodon. Zach on for the 9th time. His ERA 3.72. He is 1-0. 11 strikeouts, just 2 walks in 9 2/3, and he's got to deal with the fast part of the batting order, Bradley, Betts, and Bogaerts.
The makeshift Better Business Bureau for the Red Sox.
And just like the yesteryear Houston Astros, the Killer Bees.
Bagwell, Biggio, Berkman. Melky Cabrera turns tail and left at the warning track, has out number 1. Who is that masked man?
Bradley gave it a ride the opposite way, and Melky able to run it down. He's tracking this one all the way right in front of the State Farm sign, and takes away a 2-base hit from Jackie Bradley Jr.
Again, the White Sox defense continues to be very special here in 2016.
All the way around.
Mookie Betts looks at strike 1 from Zach Putnam, who has a career .236 ERA at U.S. Cellular Field entering tonight. Shot through the right-hand side for Mookie Betts, his first hit in this series. Family Sundays presented by Coca-Cola at U.S. Cellular Field feature tickets as low as $5 in the upper level and $15 in the lower level, and special kid-focused activities throughout the ballpark. Plus, parking's available for only $10. Visit whitesox.com/Sundays to purchase your tickets today. Coca-Cola Family Sunday coming up.
Deanna better heat up that shoulder, because Mookie Betts 6 for 6 in stolen bases, and John Farrell looking for an insurance run. Might be thinking about running. That's a huge lead at first.
He grew it even more with his secondary lead in ball 1 to Xander Bogaerts, who's been on base all 3 times tonight.
The Red Sox 22 for 24 as a team, which is somewhat remarkable if you remember the Red Sox of not too long ago when they didn't run at all.
The Lead Sox, if you will.
They were really slow.
Check on Betts, 92% this year for the Red Sox in stolen bases. One 1-0 on Bogaerts. Betts does not run. 2-0. Navarro tries to settle down Putnam with his glove pointing downward.
One thing about that splitter that Putnam uses so well is you've got to stay on top of it. If you get to the side of it, it's not going to work very well for you.
Into the ground, past third, and Frazier bats to second. Bogaerts at first. He is 3 for 3 with a walk and a run scored.
Xander Bogaerts having a big night. This one just eases its way by a diving Todd Frazier. And so some trouble, as here comes Robin, walking pretty slowly to allow Zach Duke to get a few extra pitches.
Zach Duke, the left-hander who is sizing up David Ortiz. All right, we'll step aside. Zach Duke is coming in. Zach Putnam going out. 2 on, 1 out, and a 1-run game in the 7th.
for the 16th time, so he's been a busy man. His ERA, a very fine 193. Opponent's batting average 235, and he's got to face David Ortiz. We'll take a look at home run number 500 coming last September. Matt Moore on the mound, a tough left-hander, but Big Papi doesn't wait around. A monumental 500.
That was in the 5th inning of that game. This home run in the 5th inning tonight to give the Red Sox the lead against Carlos Rodon, who cannot win tonight with that homer from Ortiz, who had hit, by the way, 499 earlier in that game against Matt Moore. It was a 2-home run day off of Moore for Ortiz, who had his first home run of his career in September of 1997 against Julio Santana. Duke has the corner, strike one. A matchup that we've not seen very much. Duke against Ortiz.
No, only 2 times have these guys hooked up. And Big Papi 0 for 2 against Zach Duke.
0-2.
Major League career has been very impressive. 1662 on the runs driven in. 330 hits. Only a 9-time All-Star and 3-time World Series champion. Pretty impressive.
It may not be like the Jeter farewell tour in that all the gifts and all the grandeur, all that stuff, but what David Ortiz has meant to the city of Boston, just in what he's been to the community too. It seems like this is a gigantic loss for an organization that has really embraced him. Through the left side, the Red Sox are going to score another. Mookie Betts is home, and it's 4-2 Boston.
That time the shift does not work. And Big Papi has driven in his 3rd of the night, his 22nd overall, as that ball floats over the middle of the plate, and he goes the opposite way. Hitting right through a vacated left side. And it is an insurance run for the Red Sox.
So David Ortiz with a 4-2 lead for his Red Sox. And Pedroia with 2 on and still 1 out facing Duke. That run charge to Putnam, who left 2 inherited runners for Duke. Ball to strike on Pedroia, who is 0 for 6 with 3 strikeouts in this series. Check swing, ball low, 2-1 on Pedroia. Chris Young is on deck. But it's been the top of this order doing the damage. Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, 2 runs scored. Ortiz, 3 RBIs. Bogaerts has driven 1 in as well as he stands at second base in this 7th inning. Rollins feeds Laurie, who pivots a double play onto first. Red Sox do get a run on the RBI single for Big Papi, and stretch time. It's a 2-run game for Boston.
and the schedule around the major leagues.
White Sox have a chance to pick up games on both Detroit and Kansas City today, with the Tigers and the Royals both losing. The Indians, with a win, are up to 12-12 now. Blue Jays 4-3. They're one game under, and that's your National League scoreboard. The Cincinnati Reds bullpen, Steve, the streak lives. They gave up another run today. It's 21 consecutive games coming in, and 22 now.
It's kind of an amazing statistic for ineptitude out of the bullpen.
That's not, you're not going to get many holds doing that.
I would think not.
Clay Buchholz tonight has been very strong for the Boston Red Sox. And he will face Melky Cabrera, Brett Lawrie, and Jerry Sands as we enter the prime danger zone for opposing pitchers. The White Sox have hurt pitching staffs this year in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings plus extras. They've scored 52 of their 106 runs coming in tonight, so 52 out of 108 after the 6th inning.
Well, I don't think that John Farrell's going to be all that patient with Clay Buchholz. So no time like the present, start putting on a couple of base runners. He gave up the last hit in the 2nd inning.
Melky shows bunt. Rutledge charging in on the pitch, and it's 1-0.
And some news that a lot of people are going to be unhappy about, and that is that the supposition is that there's going to be some more names mentioned in the PED suspensions coming up in the not too distant future. They're estimating up to 5.
Wow. Well, we saw D. Gordon already. Josh Raven, the right-hander for the Dodgers, who was already injured.
Chris Colabello, that was a big one for Toronto.
Melky pumps it foul, 2-1. Well, that along with the injuries, we talked about it yesterday. J.J. Hardy out with a broken leg. Called up Ryan Flaherty yesterday. The Orioles did, as Carson Smith, who had a 1-2-3 inning last night, gets loose for the Red Sox.
A-Rod on the DL, 15 days.
Got inside on Melky, and he is out 3 unassisted with a leadoff ground ball.
That's one, if you're at the plate and you hit it down the line, it's hugging the line all the way. You're trying to induce it to cross on the foul side. It just didn't. Buchholz continues to roll right along. The one man he hasn't been able to get is the one man he hasn't been able to throw a strike to. That's the man you're looking at.
Brett Lawrie, 2 walks so far this evening as Dan Jennings tunes up in the White Sox bullpen, the other left-hander for the Sox. Strike 1 for Lawrie, cruising over the outside half.
Pretty strong outing from a guy that really needed a strong outing, and that's Clay Buchholz.
0-2. Well, the White Sox are guaranteed to get the Abreu-Frazier combination one more time at least in this game. Trailing by 2, Lawrie takes a called strike 3 from Buchholz, his 5th strikeout tonight.
This looks like very close to a perfect pitch. How much you can do about that is that one painted the outside corner, and a night of no contact for Brett Lawrie continues.
2 walks and a strikeout, and now Jerry Sands, who rolled out to the left side of the infield last time. That's a strike called, 0-1. Still no sign of Avi Garcia so far this homestand, with the hamstring injury a couple of days ago on the road trip in Baltimore. Ball and a strike.
It'd be tough weather to bring him back in because it is really chilly, and if you're nursing any kind of leg problem, in the mid-40s, wouldn't be the ideal conditions to try to ease back into that, but the weather supposedly this weekend is supposed to be a little bit better, a little warmer certainly.
1-2 for Sands. 45 degrees game time temperature tonight here at U.S. Cellular Field.
Key for Buchholz tonight is the fact that after a shaky early part of the game, he's gotten everything he's thrown over the plate.
We gained a degree.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that the guys down on the field are thinking 46 is where it's at right now. A little less than that.
2-2 for Jerry Sands.
Straight change has been very good for Buchholz. He couldn't get the curveball over early, didn't use it a lot, then started to use it. And so if Jerry can keep it alive, the man you're looking at, Deandre Navarro, will have a chance to do some damage.
2-2 from Buchholz. Called strike 3, lower portion of the zone, and play. Buchholz is in the left lane with a foot on the gas pedal. 4-2 Red Sox.
Summary, it's a 4-2 game. Red Sox without hit. Our White Sox 9-3. It's been a narrowless game as Abreu hits a 2-run homer in the first inning, extending his hit streak to 8. Ortiz a 2-run homer in the fifth, is 509. It's brought to you by Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer.
Zach Duke's going to stay out for, at the very least, the first batter here, Chris Young, who was originally drafted by the White Sox. And he takes strike 1. 2001, 16th round, Chris Young, picked by the White Sox and traded to the Diamondbacks in 2005 in the Javier Vasquez deal.
He had some big years with the Diamondbacks. It's good to hit down in the desert. The ball flies out of that ballpark.
Left center field, up the gap for Young. Extra bases pending. It's a leadoff double for Chris Young here in the 8th.
Sidearm fastball, and right-handers tend to see these a long way. He drove this ball in the gap, and an easy 2-base hit.
So Young at second for Travis Shaw. as the White Sox try and maintain this 2-run deficit as it stands right now. Shaw up the middle. Rollins had repositioned, and Jimmy is there to make the play. He was moving as the pitch was coming home, and Jimmy Rollins tips his cap for out number 1.
Good solid play by Rollins, taking a base hit and, at least for the moment, a run away from the Red Sox. On our Xfinity Speed replay, we'll take a look at a shot right back up the middle, hits the mound, and then Rollins finally corrals it, gets it over in time. Speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
Jimmy Rollins had been shifted for the previous batter, Young, and then came back across the plane to the second base bag in time to make that play as Duke throws strike 1 to Rutledge.
Now the infield is in at all 4 positions. It's a big run 90 feet away.
Check swing, and he did not go. 1-1. So a ball and a strike on Rutledge. It was a big prospect coming up through the Rockies system. 1-2. Had 17 extra base hits his first 22 games with Colorado. Young at third. Trickler through, and it's a 5-2 Boston lead.
So the late insertion into the lineup has produced a couple of hits and a walk. Rutledge takes it right back up the middle on a pitch inside, and through a drawn-in infield, no problem. Easing it into center field. Well, unfortunately, that insurance run did score the 3rd run batted in by Rutledge this year.
He's at first, 1 out. Christian Vasquez to bat. He's been a foul ball machine tonight. Vasquez 1 for 3 with a single, a run scored, a double play, grounder, and a flyout. Well, at some point, you figured one of these teams came into U.S. Cellular Field or facing the Sox on the road, whatever it might be, that hits the ball real well, was going to start hitting the ball real well. And the Red Sox have piled on a couple extra runs late here. The White Sox had a string of sweeping the Rangers. Pretty good hitting team. Handled the Blue Jays very well. Got 2 from the Orioles.
Well, Dan Jennings is throwing once again. John Farrell couldn't be more effusive in his praise of Jose Quintana. He's not used to too many guys throwing the ball against his club as well as Quintana threw it last night. John said he is definitely the most underrated pitcher in all of baseball, and that's largely due to all those no decisions the last few years. But managers, players, pitching coaches, everybody who follows the game closely knows that Jose Quintana is one of the best in the business, not only in the American League, but in all of baseball.
That's the eye test from Farrell, and then the numbers to match that as well. Fangraphs did a story today about Quintana being one of the new aces in baseball. Maybe not so new for us here in Chicago, but for everybody else. Top to third, Frazier cuts it off, and across the way for out number 2, Rutledge to second. The centerpiece of that discussion was Quintana's got the 5th best pitchers wins above replacement the last 365 days. Last calendar year, he's one of the top 5 pitchers, at least through that number, in Major League Baseball.
But just take a look at quality starts over the last few years, and he's always among the league's best. And if you missed it last night, he went 8 innings, gave up just 1 run and only 4 hits to a power-packed Boston lineup. They don't hit the ball out of the park a lot, but they do hit the ball a lot.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They're not a power hitting team anymore. They can hit the ball out of the park, but this is a speed team and a team that makes contact.
They came into play today with 67 doubles. That was 10 more than anybody else in Major League Baseball, the Red Sox.
There's David Price, who's off to an interesting start. And I say interesting because the one-loss record is terrific, especially when you consider that he's taken losses out of the equation, so you can call it just a 1 record. But his ERA is up over 6. That's been somewhat remarkable. I mean, this is a guy that came over with a reputation of being a winning pitcher with great stuff. And the stuff this year hasn't been as good as he would like it. But when you're rolling along at 4-0, that ERA of 6.14, you just have to look at it and shake your head. 25 earned runs in 36 2/3 innings and 4 home runs given up. So when you have those kind of numbers and you're 4-0, your team has scored you a few.
One and two. Bradley pumps it to right field and hooking foul. Well, yeah, you know, there are years where the numbers may not be good, and for some reason you fall right in line with the offense. The cycle hits you.
And believe me, every pitcher is grateful for offensive support. On the other side of the coin, Jose Quintana has those 53 no decisions because he didn't get much support.
It's Koji Uehara getting loose for the Red Sox.
He's a good one.
He's a bad man.
12 strikeouts in 11 1/3 this year. His ERA a little bit higher than he would like. Well, the big problems with Zach this year against left-handers, when he drops down sidearm, you can't leave the ball over the inside part of the plate, and that's something he's done a lot of against the lefties.
2-2 for Bradley. Outside, 3-2.
And the red-hot Xander Bogaerts will follow Mookie Betts at the top. 2 guys who can run and 2 guys who can hit.
In the air, Zach's pointed to the sky. Navarro squeezes out number 3. Run across on a 1-out single for Rutledge. 5-2 Red Sox. Still 6 outs to go. Sox with the lead over the White Sox. To the bullpen they go. Steve Stone.
Yes,
hello.
they do. Koji Uehara coming in. There you look at the numbers. On for the 13th time. His ERA just below 4 with a 1-1 record. He's had one save opportunity, but that's not his job. He is the 8th inning guy before Kimbrel comes on, and they're completely different pitchers in that Uehara uses deception. Kimbrel uses pure power.
Career against Uehara. Major league hitters are 185 from the left-hand side and 201 from the right-hand side against him.
And it's not with power pitching. It's not with great stuff. It is with a tremendous amount of deception. First of all, he uses an enormous glove.
Navarro slaps it into right field. Diving play by Mookie Betts, the former infielder, stabs out number 1.
Terrific play by Betts as he came across on what looked like an absolute sure base hit. Diving, reaching up, and making the catch. And what Farrell said about him was, although he's a lifetime infielder, first day they put him in right field, he made a spectacular play down the right field line, diving for a ball, taking a 2-base hit away, and since then he's never looked back. He's been a magnificent outfielder, regardless whether they play him in center, which they did last year, or right field, which they're doing this year.
Outside ball 1 for Austin Jackson. This was a 2-0 White Sox lead. Red Sox have a run in the 3rd, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 7th, and 1 here in the 8th. Game 3 of this series will be 7:10 tomorrow night. Henry Owens, Eric Johnson, the scheduled pitchers. Mookie Betts, lower level of difficulty, though the wind tried to raise that a little bit. 2 down in the 8th inning. Join the 2016 Sox Pride Club for exclusive ticket offers and seating locations all season long. Game day opportunities too, club auctions, ballpark tours, membership gifts, and more. Visit SoxPrideClub.com to join today. It is a warm drink night at the ball yard.
A spectacular outing by Clay Buchholz. 7 innings, a couple of runs on just 3 hits. He walked 2, he fanned 6 before turning it over to Uehara.
Last White Sox base runner came with 2 out in the 4th. It was a Brett Lawrie walk. Last hit came in the 2nd inning on a Deoner Navarro single. 4 of the first 8 batters reached against Buchholz, and basically nothing more after that, with the exception of that walk.
Well, these days they quantify just about everything in the game, and one of the things they quantify is spin rotation on breaking balls, but they also quantify something else, and that is backspin rotation on fastballs. The more backspin you have on a fastball, the more movement you'll get on the fastball. And Uehara has the 2nd or 3rd highest amount of backspin on a fastball, which means that at 86 or 87, he can actually throw it by hitters.
Popped up foul. 3-2. Why does it mean that? What's at play there?
I just think the same thing as any pitch is the faster you can make the ball spin, the more movement you're going to get. And certainly the spin on a curveball you can understand. The quicker the spin, the less it's going to stay on the same plane. When you go through the plane more quickly, it's tougher to hit because it doesn't stay on that plane very long. And a fastball just seems to move, and he's got good movement.
Left field, Young back, and he is there. Chris Young in time for round number 3. Everything to the outfield, but no base runners. To the 9th, 5-2 Red Sox.
and he is the fourth. Pitcher Hughes. Ellis Rodon went 6, gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, and it was Zach Putnam for a third, gave up a run on 2 hits. Zach Duke, an inning and 2/3, gave up a run on 3 hits, and now Dan Jennings, who's off to a wonderful start, on for the 7th time. ERA 1.13. And he's got to deal with the top part of the order. The top part of the order, which has been very difficult for our Sox pitchers tonight. Those 3 guys have gotten it done.
Dynamic players in different ways, too. Mookie Betts has had a nice night in right field. He scored a run in the 7th inning. Bogarts has been out all 4 times, and Ortiz has powered in the runs as Jennings fires over strike 1.
And this was the top of the order that was supposed to look like Betts, Pedroia, Bogarts, Ortiz, and Ramirez. But Ramirez getting sick, not in the lineup. They reshuffled the lineup.
Right field, Adam Eaton on the go. Hey, look what I found.
Well, he got fooled by the wind. The wind is now really kicking up, and it's becoming difficult. So take a look as Adam trying to stay with it. That one is moving and almost moves out of the glove as he reaches out and stabs it. You can always tell how the wind is blowing here by taking a look at the wrappers you see in the infield. More wrappers you see blowing around, the tougher it is to catch fly balls.
Ludacris, Dr. Dre.
That's exact. Well, yeah, they're all over the field certainly.
Chance, strike 1 to Xander Bogaerts.
I will tell you.
Oh, those wrappers.
I will tell you that Chance designed a hat, which I saw the other day, which is absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to use my influence to get you one.
He did go around, 0-2. I think I'm more likely to get the community chest hat rather than the Chance hat.
I'm telling you, it's a beautiful hat. Very well crafted.
Wait, better than the Italian Night fedora? The Italian Heritage Night fedora?
No, I think, well, it's a different style. It's not the classic style.
Let's see it, Steve.
It's not 2 of these, and we would certainly wear them if not for the headgear, because it looks sad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but you did style it for us a couple weeks ago.
We will wear it again.
1-2 from Jennings. Back to the hill. Dan is there. 2 are away.
First time tonight our Sox have been able to subdue Xander Bogaerts.
3 singles and a walk, a run scored, an RBI as well for Mr. Bogaerts. And here is David Ortiz, who gets a very confused reception. Everybody likes seeing him play.
They would like to appreciate his efforts, but his efforts have so far done in the home Sox.
Yeah, the home 9 is trailing by 3, and Ortiz has driven in 3. He shows bunt. Ladies and gentlemen, you were here when David Ortiz showed bunt at age 40.
Well, he shows you there exactly why he doesn't bunt, why he's making so much money and he has so many home runs, because usually that bunt is out of the equation. Surprising that he doesn't have any sacrifices this year.
Appalling. He takes strike 2. It looked like he was on strike after the bunt didn't work. He just said, look, I'm going to take one. Is there anybody that has more fun on a baseball diamond so late in a career? I mean,
a couple of guys. Adrian Beltre is one of those guys. Miguel Cabrera, another one of those guys that have a lot of fun. Of course, we're talking about guys with all-world talent. If you have that kind of talent, you can have a lot of fun in this game.
Yeah, it's more fun when you're good.
There's no question. Especially if you're as good as Ortiz. Miguel Cabrera might be the best pure hitter in all of baseball on a yearly basis. And Adrian Beltre, no doubt to me, he's going in the Hall of Fame.
Ortiz goes down swinging. All the good ones have fun. That's why we're so somber up here in the booth.
Silent. Onward, young man.
A melancholy bottom nine coming in a 3-run game. Live with the MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video, highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone and tablet.
You were laughing because I was having trouble with rolling over my jacket. I'm becoming my dad. Yikes.
You're facing the other direction completely.
I do some of my best work looking away from the field.
How were Craig Kimbrell's warm-up tosses, Stoney?
I thought he looked excellent. On for the 14th time. 8 of 9 in save opportunities. Opponents hitting 122 if you want to know how well he's doing. It's very well, and he can get it up there 100 miles an hour when he's feeling good, and he's normally feeling very well.
One of the best closers in the game, Craig Kimbrell, part of that Atlanta fire sale, and he will face Rollins, Abreu, and Frazier here in the ninth. Still some time remaining for the White Sox to come back against a tough cookie on the mound. 3-run game as we go bottom 9.
He looks like he's about to fly at you.
There's some zip there.
Well, if you look at the position that he assumes when coming to the plate, it's unique, to say the least.
That is filthy.
Hard slider on the inside part of the plate. And just like that, you're down 0-2.
Rollins 1 for 3. Jimmy, a single and a run scored in the first, couple of groundouts after that. 0-2. He did go around, strike 3, 1 away in the home ninth.
The fourth drive of the game came early when all was beautiful at the ballpark. He got an inside fastball, rode it out, his 4th home run of the year. He's driven in 19, and at the time, it was 2-0. But the Red Sox came battling back, and they've got a 3-run lead late.
Well, the good news for the White Sox, regardless of result tonight, is both the Tigers and Royals have lost. And I know it's very, very early. It's early May. But as Todd Frazier said when we were on that road trip in Toronto, he said, look, the more cushion we can have for when invariably we'll lose games. They're not going to go 154-8.
No.
So the more cushion you can have, the better off you are when you get later on in the season. Now, if the rest of the division won only 30 games or so, you have a pretty clear line to the AL Central title.
And that fastball up there at 98. Detroit already at 14-12. Kansas City at 14-13, which might be one of the most surprising things to happen this year, along with Houston stumbling out of the gate. Sox trying to avoid their 9th loss of the year.
Whistles outside, 2-1 to Abreu. Frazier, then Melky Cabrera in this 9th inning. Two and one on Abreu. Outside, 3 balls and a strike from Kimbrel.
And regardless of the outcome tonight, the Sox in this endurance test that started really with the Angels of Anaheim, 4-game series here, then Texas, Toronto, Baltimore, and now Boston. Those are 5 teams in a row that are very strong baseball teams.
Ball 4 on Abreu, 1 on, 1 out for Frazier. And look, Rick Hahn said it yesterday when he was talking about the impending move with John Danks and Eric Johnson. He said, look, there are more teams in the American League this year who are in the will win this year cycle than in the National League. It's going to be a tougher middle in the American League by far, you'd imagine, than the National League this year.
Well, nationally, you've got some excellent baseball teams. You've got Washington, New York, and surprisingly, Philadelphia is out of the gate. That's one of the real surprise teams in baseball. They're out of the gate at 16-11 coming into action tonight. Then you have the Cubs is dominating everything, and Pittsburgh only 2 games over 500. They're in 2nd place, 6 games back. And again, a big surprise in the NL West. No team has really jumped up to take control. You've got San Francisco and Los Angeles a half game apart. And Colorado, Arizona, San Diego all under 500.
0-1 for Frazier, who is 0 for 3 tonight. Shocking breaking ball, 0-2. Two strikes on Frazier. Very close pitch, 1-2.
You see how quick the slider of Kimbrel is, and that's at 86 miles an hour. And it's late breaking and a very sharp slider.
On the ground, Bogaerts has command of it and turns 2. The White Sox split the first 2 with the Red Sox, who win tonight 5-2 in Game 2 of this 3-game series. We'll take a break and come back to wrap it up from U.S. Cellular Field after this.